All right, the draft has concluded. Did they do enough? Landry Locker, Cody Stoots here with you. It is SNL. Texans heading into camp. They're adding bodies on the offensive line, by the way, former Patriots. From what I see, we'll get into that. We'll also get into there is some crazy national talk about the Texans draft that I just think is insane. It's giving me a headache. It's driving me absolutely insane to where I had to walk away from it. And we'll also talk about the Texans now versus a year ago, which is where we'll start. Where do you think the Texans, and Jason Bristol asked us this, do you think the Texans are better off now as opposed to a year ago? You and I disagree on this, but I'll start by asking you, do you think that the Texans are better now or were they better a year ago?
A year ago, I felt like they had an ascending offensive coordinator. I feel like they have that now, but we have no idea exactly what Nick Caley is. I expect him to be pretty good, but a year ago, I felt like Bobby Slowick was on his way to being something. Like he was going to have one more season with the Texans, and boom, he's going to be a head coach somewhere. You know, that's what I felt about Bobby Slowick a year ago. I foolishly believed more than most in the offensive line. And I liked the Stephon Diggs addition and him plus Nico Collins, the second year of Tank Dell. I know he was coming off of an injury, but it wasn't some just like impossible injury to come back from. And I kind of liked where the offense was. I mean, didn't have as many questions as I have now about CJ Stroud, but I had a couple of questions about the defense that I don't have a year later. But I feel like the way I feel today about the Texans is not as good as the way I felt about them a year ago, because I had more answers on offense in a year ago's Cody's version of looking at the team than I do now with this team.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a symbol of the often side of football that blinds you. It's right there. It's in the form of a red hat and a mustache right here. It comes in many forms, but this is a symbol of it right here. The guy that's sipping the drink is a symbol of how people can be blinded by football when they look at it through a one-dimensional lens. Because everything you're saying and everything that Bristol said and everything that Luis said and everything that people say about how they felt about the Texans last year versus this year, I'm not disagreeing with it. It's just it stops at the offense. And that's why fantasy football is so popular. That's why when we talk about the draft, we kind of lean offense. Like we ignore what we thought about the defense and what the defense has become and the strides that this defense has made, and we focus on the offense. Now, me personally, I'm a little different than you because I thought the offensive line sucked last year, and I never really bought into it. I thought they could overcome it. So I never really believed in Titus Howard as a tackle. I never believed in Shaq Mason. So I was never.
A year ago, you thought Shaq was bad. I know you thought he was bad when we got to training camp.
As soon as I laid eyes on Shaq Mason, I knew he was bad. I did not think this offensive line was going to be good. There was never a point where I said they were going to be good.
But he was fine in 2023.
He was okay. He was all right. I mean, it was a shuffling offensive line. I didn't know if it was going to be much better. But my point is, I agree with what you're saying about how we thought on the offense, and we thought CJ Stroud was this, and we thought Bobby Slowick was that, and we were all wrong about it. But we also didn't know about the defense. And
I had questions about the defense too.
We didn't know if Derek Stingley could stay healthy. He stayed healthy, and he was the best corner in the league this year. We didn't know if Kamari Lassiter could even play outside. He's one of the best young corners in the league. We didn't know what the safeties were going to look like, and you saw what you got with Bullock, and you added a guy who just won a Super Bowl. We didn't know if Jalen Petrie was even going to be on the team, and he's a different element of this offense to where they missed it. We thought Will Anderson was good. We didn't know Will Anderson was going to continue to get this and this good. Danielle Hunter was a nice signing. That could have gone a number of ways. He could have ended up being on the golden age of his football career where it falls off. Instead, you have two fringe all-pros on the edge, two Pro Bowlers, and DeMeco Ryans established himself as even more of a defensive mind. So unlike last year, I feel like this team possesses a superpower, and I think that superpower will keep you in many games. Do I think they're like way better than last year? I mean, not really. There's a lot of mysteries on the offensive side of the ball, but they actually have a superpower, and I'm more impressed by what they've done on the defensive side of the ball, establishing themselves as a top 4, top 5 defense potentially, than I am what they are on the offensive side of the ball. Because I think in order to compete, and that doesn't mean they win more games, it means to be able to compete when it matters most, I think you have to have a superpower. And I think the superpower they possess, it travels. And that's why I think they're slightly better now than they were last year.
I don't disagree with you that the defense is better. It certainly is. And it's in a spot where it could be an even more incredible piece to this team. I just feel like the offense is worse. The offensive line's a total unknown. I mean, at the very least, a year ago, I knew Laramie Tunsil was going to do his job. At the very least, they still don't have any depth behind Joe Mixon. And yeah, I like the potential of these wide receivers, but Nico Collins gets hurt every year. Christian Kirk's been hurt the past 2 years, and the other 2 guys are rookies. So just, I don't disagree that the defense is better and it's got a lot of juice to it, certainly. But I just don't know that I'm confident enough about the offense in 2025 to feel better overall than where they were in 2024.
No, there's definitely some unknowns, and there's definitely reasons for skepticism, and obviously there's concerns on the offensive line that exist this year that for the most part, we're not there last year for most people.
You had a appropriate amount of skepticism for CJ between year 1 and year 2. I have a lot more questions about CJ Stroud heading into 2025 than I did in 2024.
Yeah, I thought that they were gonna. I thought that they were going to be able to score more. I will admit to that on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, why wouldn't you? Second year of Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. Like Schultz was supposed to be good last year. He wasn't.
Yeah, no doubt. On the super chat, Jacob says, offensive line Jake Andrews claimed on waivers. Problem solved.
4th round pick 2 years ago out of Troy. Guess who his college offensive line coach was?
Cole Popovich. Yeah. Didn't play at all last year. Was on injured reserve and played 70 snaps on the offensive line 2 seasons ago. So rookie deal, cheap option, body to compete. Let's see what he's got. Yeah, kick the tires. Just bring him in and see what happens. The more bodies.
I can't sit here and complain like I wanted bodies, and then they get a body, and I'm not going to bitch about it. I'm going to be excited about it.
Yeah,
well, excited. It's a relative term, but like,
are you going to drop a Jake Andrews video?
No, I'm not going to drop a Jake Andrews video. No. I'll let the tomato chat throwers do that one.
Last name winner says all good teams have legit DTs. When will the Texans address that position? Is that true? Like, do all good teams have the best edge duo? Do they have the best corner duo? Do they I don't know. Like, there's going to be some weak point of your squad. Like, but I don't like that seems like a
I almost feel
statement.
I almost feel better about defensive tackle heading into 2025 than I do heading into 2024. That might be one position that I know for sure I feel better about because I know what they're going to do now. Like we only had 1 year of DeMeco Ryans and he had Malik Collins as a holdover and he'd signed Sheldon Rankins. So we didn't know okay, they're going to go with Foley Fatukasi and Mario Edwards.
Yeah, it's the same, but yeah, I don't know.
It's clearly it's clearly just a committee situation at defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
I don't disagree with great defensive tackle. I vehemently disagree that you have to have a great defensive tackle when you've got all these other beautiful things on defense.
Yeah, can the edge guys make the DT better? I would think so. I'm not overly concerned about the DT, but I mean, yeah, if you just watched the Super Bowl and you saw Chris Jones and you saw the Eagles and you probably all great teams. It's kind of like Bean, the GM, came out and talked about, Tom Brady never had great receivers when they were winning all those years. Like I guess
you talking about that radio interview that he did where he
did a follow up with McAfee and he said he said that they didn't have them. It's like, well, their best team didn't win a Super Bowl. Like I know that sounds crazy, but their best team didn't win a Super Bowl. They just happened to get
their
beat by the Giants.
Their best team went, I don't know, 18-1.
Yeah.
How many people would sign up for 18-1 right now?
I think a lot of people would. I just don't. Yeah. It would probably be.
And I would tell you, through 2 years, D'Amico Ryans has showcased the ability to DT by committee and make it work. So I'm not. Would it be nice if they had some massive ass kicker in the middle? Sure. But do they have to have that? No, I don't think they do.
All right. So when it comes to the draft, you asked this question. What positions are the weaknesses? We're post-draft. What positions are the weaknesses post-draft?
I mean, it was probably always going to be offensive line, wasn't it? Short of going and doing, I guess, basically what the Bears did, which is trade for 2 guys and sign another guy. Short of doing what the Bears did, most of us were going to consider the offensive line a weakness heading into 2025, right? I don't want to speak for everybody, but unless they went and spent $100 million on this thing and traded for somebody, most people were going to be pretty disappointed, just very okay with the offensive line movement. I mean, they didn't really, you talk about adjustments, additions. You look at some of the teams that went out there and added to their offensive lines, and you look at what the Texans did, it looks very different. It looks like a cafeteria tray versus a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah, it's got to be the O-line. It has to be. I think they addressed the wide receiver, obviously, and that was kind of how stuff shaped up. They're like when you finish a draft, there's always they decided to do this instead of that. It's like, well, they didn't have the first pick, so they didn't have a top 5 pick, they didn't have a top 10 pick, they didn't have a top 15. So I don't like. It would be interesting if you could ask the Texans, hey, which area would you like, if all things go perfect, which area would you like to address the most? There's a chance that the answer might have been offensive line. Like there's a strong chance that might have been the answer. I just don't think that's the way that the draft played out. So I have no problem criticizing them. Like when you say specific guys, or like you say, like they should have drafted Ratledge, or you say they should have done whatever it took to go get
this guy or that guy.
Yeah. But like, I don't think that the Texans like had a plan of attack to where they said, okay, we're going to go all in on improving wide receiver and ignore the offensive line. I just think that's the way that stuff played out when you had that much stuff in front of you happening. So I think I agree with you on the positions of weakness. But I thought that wide receiver, the concerns there, I thought they were up there with offensive line. The offensive line needs to be coached better, and the offensive line needs to be better. And there's a reason that it was better 2 years ago than it was last year when they had all the stuff invested. So just investing in the offensive line, while it gives you a better shot, especially if you're evaluating right, I think that the improvement is going to come from the coaching and within. And I think they just they knew that wide receiver was a need, and the way that the draft shaped up, it made more sense for them to attack that.
We believe that they were trying to trade up for an offensive lineman. They obviously didn't get a trade up done. They decided to trade back after 7 offensive linemen came off the board before they selected 6, 7. I think that was the number. So yeah, I certainly understand it from that. And then the board falls that way for them to go and get a couple of wide receivers. And to your point about wide receiver, they couldn't coach up wide receiver and make up a lot of ground. Like, yeah, Christian Kirk was there, but the coaches have probably done all they can with John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson. There's not some changeover and going to turn them into really solid football players with this coaching staff. The coaching staff maybe didn't do everything they could have with this offensive line, so maybe they can improve them with the coaching staff. I could see that would be an avenue to where, hey, look, I know we didn't add a ton of new faces, But the guys we do have are going to be better because we believe in the coaching more. And the guys we brought in are going to play better than where they were because, again, we believe in the coaching. So I do understand that as sort of their solution versus, I don't know, $80 million for the French fry guy that the Vikings signed.
Yeah, and I would say the other areas of weakness, I would say there's a depth concern at running back.
Huge depth concern at running back.
I would say there's still a depth concern at corner. I mean, I don't know if they nailed it on Smith, or if Ronald Darby is still going to be quality. So there's a concern there. And I'm a little concerned about teams, perhaps if Jalen Petrie is going to play 100% of the snaps, if kind of the odds kind of flip and teams that were unable to take advantage of that opportunity last year are able to take advantage of it this year. So I think there were a few instances with how good this defense is, and specifically with Petrie, where quarterbacks missed throws, and there were Lassiter got burned a couple times and the quarterback missed the throw, and it could have been the difference in the game. So I think Jalen Petrie being out there 100% of the snaps, I think it's a little bit concerning. I don't know if it's a weakness or not, but maybe corner depth can help mask that. Birdie Boy on the soup says, how about our kicker, punter, and long snapper? Our kicker can't kick in the cold.
Well, they paid him a year ago, so he's not going anywhere.
The long snapper, we don't know. The punter, he came on a little bit.
Did you know that people, and I guess I knew this, there's like a whole community that ranks long snappers. And apparently the Texans signed the best long snapper according to long snapper evaluators out of this rookie class. Who knew? I mean, I've seen some people be specialized in some weird stuff, but specializing in long snapping, that's a deep cut right there. That's a deep cut.
So you say they didn't do enough on the offensive line. Is there anything specific that you would have liked to have seen them do?
I would have liked, I mean, instead of Jalen Smith being on this team, I would have liked an offensive lineman on this team. 3rd round pick on the offensive line, opportunity to compete at guard. That's what I would have liked instead of Jalen Smith. That's a specific draft thing. And in free agency, I mean, I would have spent money on another guard as well. Like I would have spent, I wouldn't have spent the Will Fries money or the Aaron Banks money, but I'd have probably tried to pry Kevin Zeitler away or one of these other guards that change teams away. They're making less than $10 million. Jalen Petrie makes $10 million a year to play half of the nickel position. So you had the money.
The running back thing, I don't fault them for this in the draft. I wanted them to draft a running back. I think it just shaped up to where it didn't make as much sense for them. Because when we talked about the draft, we talked about the awkward phase between 25 and 58. Like heading into the draft, and 58 was kind of the money spot for running backs, and perhaps you trade back and get a running back. But what happened was they just went back a small few spots. And in that instance, it made more sense to take the receiver. So you were still in the same awkward position where that running back run wasn't going to happen, and it just happened to happen. And that's where you lost Judkins and Henderson. And from there, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Now, there might be a question about the running back that they actually ended up taking and what can he do. They seem to think that he can be someone that can catch the rock, which we'll see. You're still going to need probably someone that can do a little bit of everything. So they didn't do enough at running back, but a lot of it was kind of out of their control in that the awkward phase still existed. Your first pick was a few spots back, and what happened in between 25 and 58 was still something that didn't play out in your favor.
Well, I also wonder, I mean, they are acting differently because there is basically no shot, and they couldn't have planned for Tank Dell to be a part of this team in 2025. Yeah, I give a healthy Tank Dell, even if Tank Dell had played poorly throughout the rest of last year, a healthy Tank Dell probably changes things significantly for them. And maybe they use that pick on Noel on a running back or something different. And maybe they don't have to feel like they need to go get 2 wide receivers. So they're still recovering from that, and they should have. You had to add talent to that wide receiver room, and so they're kind of making up for that. So I don't fault them for going for wide receivers. They did take a clear backup who doesn't have a ton of usefulness day one in Smith when they could have taken a running back.
And maybe we see them bring in another form of Cam Akers, like whether it's someone on the market right now that we're looking at, like
whoop-de-doo.
Well, I know, but I mean that's probably what we see.
They're not betting on Dameon Pierce, are they?
Look, I didn't think they would last year.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Well, you're not going to fool me 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know.
They might get fooled by Dameon Pierce a 3rd time.
I really don't know, man. That is a lot. I'm not partaking in the. I will cover Dameon Pierce, but I'm not partaking in the whole like Dameon Pierce hype train this year. That just doesn't.
Like if you told me J.K. Dobbins ended up on this team before training camp started, I'd be like, all right, good depth piece. Yeah. If you had to have him handle it for a couple of days or a couple of games because Joe Mixon's hammy acted up, you could make it work. Like there's a couple of names, but we say this all the time. You're a free agent in May for a very clear reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Pierce is an interesting one. I don't think Brandon watches the games. He said 7 yards per carry. Who's fooling? I mean, you saw the 2 explosive runs. We know Dameon Pierce is not a quality backup running back at this point. If you're watching every game and using the yards per carry, that's rough.
He also has 2 years now where injuries have drastically affected his availability.
Yeah, and it's
he
always
wasn't even
the worst times. It's always at the worst times.
Joe Mixon gets hurt and he's not even available. Like they came back at the same time, roughly.
It's tough. It's tough on the running back streets. It has been, and there's a lot of names going out. And I mean, Joe Mixon's great. Hopefully, you can figure that out. Rich Boy Jay says, "Is trading for a guard off the table at this point?"
What are you trading? Like, what do you have of value that you'd want to trade for a guard that, and why is that guy available in April, May? Is it off the table? No. Would it be something that you could count on? Probably not. If they're not trading for a starter, if they are, that'd be kind of scary that all the moves they made to this point led to them trading for a starter in the middle of summer or the start of training camp, but they're not trading for a starter. They might add another body. And they were content to fetter away a 5th round pick for Kendrick Green a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bring back bad memories, but I mean, if there's like a 2019 situation, the Laramie Tunsil trade was made after they saw what a disaster their offensive line was, and they got to check it out. Like at this point, they haven't even gotten to check it out, and I'm not saying they've invested a crap ton in it, but they have invested. So even when they signed Matt Khalil, they had to see with their own eyes, oh shoot, this guy's washed up. We got to figure something out. And that's when they made the Tunsil trade. They went into camp, and really they went well into camp. And I know they is a lot different than what this is, because we don't think that D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio and company are as big of football idiots as Bill O'Brien, but they had to see it in front of them. So at this point, they might just want to see how this looks and shapes up. And I mean, maybe they see something and they get a little bit desperate and more willing to make a move, but they probably got to at least see it play out before they do anything crazy with some of the stuff that they've invested and the many guys that they've brought in.
And how deep into training camp is that before they have like a pretty good idea? I'd say that's probably a few weeks or maybe even a preseason game before they really have a good understanding of what they have. I'll know this: if we show up and Sheldon Rankins and Mario Edwards look like the second coming of Aaron Donald again, then same as last year, worry about the interior. Remember how good Fadakasi and Edwards looked in training camp?
Well, I mean, you didn't quit Shaq, though. You were still on Shaq. You were still big on Shaq, though.
I just didn't think he was cooked, like you said.
You're gonna have to watch these guys walk, man. I'm keeping a real close eye on these guys. I mean, there are a lot of candidates for the annual. This guy's
Give me the Cook candidates. Give me the Cook candidates.
Cam Robinson's on the Cook candidates, although not as bad, but he's on the list.
Man, that would be really bad.
Laken Tomlinson is on the list. I'm watching you closely, sir. Just how you jog out to practice.
Yeah.
Trent Brown, I will be able to tell as soon as I see you over the bridge. I don't even have to see you come down the stairs, my friend. As soon as I see Trent Brown walking down, I will know.
I would be very surprised if Trent Brown is available and makes this team. He's coming off the same injury that Josh Simmons had, and I didn't want Josh Simmons anywhere near this team.
Yes. So there are a lot of candidates. And look, there's young guys too that maybe we're dismissing too early, but there's some young guys on this squad like Titus Howard. Maybe he just revives his career, and maybe getting rid of Laramie Tunsil is like the revival for Titus Howard, and we see him as like some sort of starter somewhere. I don't think he's going to be great, but maybe he's a quality starter somewhere, and you're just cutting your losses. Jared Patterson, Juice Scruggs, maybe the change of scenery helps those guys. And then Blake Fisher, what does he look like in a lot? The beauty of it is, as much as we talk about these are just guys, it is a mix of like veterans that are way into their career and guys that are young that we've just kind of dismissed because of the crap that we've seen. So it's a very cheap buffet, and a lot of the food has been out there for probably 3 hours, and it's getting really nasty under the lights. But maybe, just maybe, they bring out a nice fresh little thing of orange chicken or something like that that's average, and you're able to make do with the orange chicken. So I mean, it's not the best buffet, but it is a buffet with a lot of variety.
Man, you know what they could really use is a guard version of George Fant. A couple days before training camp, they get a guard that's a veteran that just turns out to be a steady, reliable player.
Oh, give me the tackle version of George Fant. Like, yeah.
Is the actual George Fant available? Or did he sign somewhere?
He was he was hurt last year. He was the most frequently named guy last year. And it was like, man, what a heroic 1 year by George Fant. What an absolutely heroic year.
Real George Fant is available.
Yep.
The actual George Fant.
Kurt Metz said, did you know Panda Express invented orange chicken? I didn't believe it till I looked up. I brought it up on here. Yeah, Panda Express.
I did not know that. They are the creators of that?
They invented orange chicken. They did. Yes, they did. Panda Express. They invented the orange chicken. And their orange chicken is actually solid, I will say.
I would be fascinated to know exactly what are traditional, like hardcore traditional Chinese dishes, and then maybe some with like a little Americanized version, and then what are just flat out, this is what we created for Americans, and this is what they think Chinese is. Like,
yeah, I bet there's like hipster ass Chinese people who are like the overwhelming amount of Hispanics that we know that frown upon non-authentic Mexican food and say that like orange chicken and some of the dishes we like are like the equivalent of like Tex-Mex or like
sure.
That type of thing. So yeah, I would bet that's a thing. Rich Boy back on the soup says, which offensive line guy having an excellent season would make the biggest impact? Ursery or Fisher? I mean, because that would mean that you feel really good about them. It has to be one of the guys that are non-stop gap guys. So I think it has to be one of the tackles that you've drafted in the 2 round. If they're your starting tackles, like if they just beat out Cam Robinson, or if Cam Robinson goes down and these guys hold it down, that's the best case scenario for you. And quite frankly, it might be the reason for optimism as we talk ourselves into like the potentially good on this offense line, because it's easy to talk ourselves into the bad, because it's not. The other thing about this, and it is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. But this is the other thing about this, like this offensive line mindset. It's not just based on the last 2 years. It's not just based on the last 5. Really, like one of the identities outside of like a few escapes for the Houston Texans franchise is crappy offensive line play. Yeah. So it's not just like, you know, we focus a lot on, and by we, I mean me, we focus a lot on how Caserio has handled the offensive line and D'Amico, but Texans fans from the start in the early 2000s to now, poor offensive line play has been one of the main talking points. Some people even convinced themselves that David Carr would have been good had he not had a bad offensive line. So it's just kind of been it's kind of a thing where we always think that. But the positive, I would say, to go back to it, would be these tackles being good, or one of them.
Yeah, if Ursary ended up having to play and Robinson wasn't available and him and Fisher locked it down as the edge guys, that'd be awesome. Because then you'd hopefully would not have to worry about that anytime soon. Then you just start to figure it out on the interior. It will be fascinating to know, and I don't know how to totally get this answer. I'm sure one of the offensive linemen might let it slip later in the season, but like, they might just be able to improve because Bobby didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, and that's the hope. The hope is that Bobby Sloak was the biggest idiot ever. Like, that's the hope, and that Chris Strausser was an idiot. That's part of your hope too. I'm gonna pick someone randomly. I don't know. Let me just check, because there's a lot of people weighing in on the Chinese stuff. I'll pick someone random on the thing that weigh in on it. Okay, Patrick Ding. He says, as long as you treat Chinese American food as its own cuisine, you're fine. There are actually a few restaurants trying to import Phasian into Chinese markets. You know what? I don't know, but I'm just going to – that sounds like someone who randomly knows what he's talking about. So I'll say thank you very much, Patrick.
He said he's going to put us together a list of what's authentic and what's maybe not authentic. I await the list. It will be.
And I bet you my list is about, like, of what I get is like the most unauthentic thing. Okay. All right, it wasn't completely luck. Shout out to Patrick. He's out there in New York.
I'm wondering now you got me thinking about what could be actually authentic and have like an authentic root. I know General Tso's from like it has its roots in China.
What about Kung Pao?
No idea. It sounds very like American. It sounds American. It sounds like
cook it and called it Kung Pao chicken.
It sounds like some chef was being a smartass after watching a karate movie.
So I want to get into something that I think is like really amusing to me. That comes with the Jaden Higgins talk, and it's more after he's been drafted as opposed to before. We've talked about and I'm going to put out like a who is Jaden Higgins video a little later on in the day, but we've talked about like the potential fit and how does he fit and what's his style and all that and blah, blah, blah. And we've said, you know, if he plays like Nico Collins and is Nico Collins, cool. I'll take two of those. Because I think you can do a number of things with Nico Collins, and any offensive coordinator that can't make two Nico Collins work should be fired. So we've said that. But now, even post this, and he compared himself more to Larry Fitzgerald, I saw, and which I think makes sense, because I think the Drake London comparison is a little bit more. I'm not saying he's slow. They run the same like 40, but I think Nico plays a little bit more violent, but he has a little bit more of that. He looks like a basketball player. That's the best way I'll say it. He looks, if you watch him play football, you know that he's played basketball at some point in his life. That's the best way that I can describe Higgins. But I'm seeing like, and I talk about Steve on the 33rd team a lot, because I think that he puts a lot into like going into like the sticks and the X's and O's and all that type of stuff. And you scroll through Twitter and you'll see like talk about, well, this is how Higgins and Collins fit. And, you know, I do think these guys will work together because of this. We don't know what the offense is, man. Like my whole thing is that I think if you have two Nico Collins skill sets, then it can work together in any offense. But like this is why they fit together. We don't know what this offense is yet.
And they didn't give us any clues with the draft either.
They haven't told us anything. So knowing all that, it's just a wonder of like, okay, do you know something that I don't know? Because I've never seen this offense. I don't know what a Rams hybrid and Patriots hybrid is. I don't know how they're going to view these guys. I like the answer that Casario gave me when I asked him about like fits with Noel and like multiple slots and stuff and all that. But like, how can we go in depth on how these two are going to fit in this offense, this specific offense, if we don't know what this offense looks like? Like, you can tell, like, I can do this right now. Like, we could probably do the final 25 minutes. It'd be boring as shit, but we could do the final 25 minutes right now. And we could say, all right, Jalen Reed, how does he fit into this defense? That's kind of easy. Like, that's kind of easy. Like, I can tell you exactly what they want him to do and what they'll want him to do. Like, we can do that with all these defensive guys. I don't know. We don't even know what the offense is. So I'm really confused by how, and it's confusing. And I think Draft Talk really, as a whole, I think if you take it for what it is, and you take it for like what the good is, what the bad is, and all that, that's fine. But I think there's just a lot of copycatting going on. And I think that's what happened with the Nico Collins-Higgins thing was Daniel Jeremiah put out the measurables, and then all of a sudden everybody, and it's called shadow scouting, which is a good thing, but everybody started saying that he plays like Nico Collins. And I don't think that they actually do. If they did, that would be great. But now it just seems like there's like talk about how these guys are going to fit in this offense. And I don't know what this offense is.
I hope it's more Rams than Patriots. I want 3 wide receivers out there more than 2.
Yeah. And I think Patriots was, they would go too tight. They would go to multiple slots. Like there was a lot of adjustment. I think that they were at its peak. It was game plan offense that BOB used to talk about gone right. And with the Texans with BOB, it was game plan offense gone wrong because it wasn't necessarily like an adjustment to your personnel. So that's just really, it's more so just me just kind of getting testy about it, but it confuses me because I don't know how to do that. Like, and that's what's so exciting about this. And that's why we're happy that you're on the journey with us and you've been on the journey with us is like, if you're not paying attention at training camp and you cover this team, then what are you doing this year? Because there's no rest. Like last year, you and me are watching 24/7, but if you didn't, then you could get away with it because you knew who the starters were. You knew what the offense was going to look like. You knew what they were going to do. Maybe Stephon Diggs made a play and you looked up and you said something, but like this year you got offensive line alignment and the battles. You got the whole scheme and what it looks like, what CJ's doing before the play, where the wide receivers are lining up, what they're doing, how these tight ends are being used and what they look like. Like on defense, you might be able to kind of just be like, oh, I know what to expect there and have a good grasp. But on offense, it's a massive mystery.
Well, defense, I'm watching Jalen Petrie go out there trying to cover everybody. those 3 wide receiver sets get Jalen on Jalen crime. A little Jalen Noel out there.
Kyle Nance says, remember Bobby putting Schultz?
Grenard. He clarified it as Grenard.
Oh, okay. Grenard. Okay.
Well, it was Stover. He had Stover block Grenard.
Yeah, it was Cade Stover. It was the first play of the game, right?
If it wasn't the first, it's pretty close to the beginning.
No, I think it was the first play of the game because it negated a long Nico Collins gain against Minnesota. Remember?
Oh, yeah. He had I thought he was talking about the sack. He had the hold and he had the sack.
Yeah, there were multiple plays.
Yeah.
Wasn't great.
That was the ugly part of Cade's season.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And he was not too pleased with it. So
Nope. But that's in addition to we're going to put the players in the position for them to succeed, I feel like the unspoken thing from Nick Caley is we're going to keep them from being in positions that they have no business being in, which is Dalton Schultz blocking, Cade Stover one-on-one with the other team's best pass rusher, things like that.
Yeah.
At least I hope.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the big mystery of it.
Also, just while we were talking about, what maybe could the offense look like? 2022 Patriots, 5th in the league in 3 wide receiver sets. Did not expect that.
Rich Boy Jay says, I thought the first play was a tip ball interception. We're both right. This is a rare time where you're correcting me and you're actually right. So the first play was a 17-yard pass to Nico Collins. I said 16. However, there was a penalty on the play on Cade Stover, offensive holding 10 yards. So the play did not officially count. Next play, intercepted by Kamu Grugier Hill. So it was the first official play, but the first play before that was the penalty. So good looking out, my friend. we're technically both right. I don't know who would cash out that bet, but maybe they pay both of us if we both say what the first play is going to be.
Yeah, penalty and then intercepted, and then when did the sack happen?
There were a few. There were a few.
You know which one I'm talking about, though. When Stover just gets bowled over. Had to be one of the punts.
Yeah,
just go find where they end up in third and forever. And then they had like the 5 penalties in a row at one point, and it was just, oh God, what a disaster. We didn't know Minnesota was going to be real good. But that was one of the early, like, oh, we got to really feel like this offensive line's out of touch here.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to. Someone said
it was the start. It was the first play of the second half. He just bowled him over. Stroud sack for 6 yards, Grenard. Yeah. Oh boy.
Someone says pop quiz. What was the first touchdown of 2024 for the Texans? So it would have been against the Colts. Was it?
It was Diggs, wasn't it? I thought it was Stephon Diggs receiving touchdown, wasn't it?
Diggs had one. I'm not sure.
I'm looking it up now because now I'm curious. Yeah, Stephon Diggs touchdown.
All right, so I wanted to play a game here, and I started playing this last night, and I just started thinking because the Texans drafted multiple teammates in this draft, and I don't have the answer, so I might just have to play this along. How many colleges have multiple players on the Texans roster? How many colleges have multiple players on the Texans roster? We can start, obviously, Ohio State with Stover and Cade.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, I'll get Florida out of the way. Damian Pierce and Tommy Townsend. So there's that.
Well, Graham Mertz.
Yep. USC with Bullock, Smith, and the other guys. Alabama, obviously, with Will, Toto, Christian Harris. There's 4. Iowa State with the wide receivers. There's 5. Penn State with Reed and Juice Scruggs. There's 6.
Notre Dame with Patterson and Heinisch.
Yep, Patterson and Heinisch is still hanging around. That's 7.
Okay, that's 7. Okay, hold on now. Is there another Georgia guy?
No.
There's not another Georgia guy with Kamari, huh?
I don't think so.
Is there another Baylor guy?
Not that I know of.
Okay, what about Michigan?
There's Nico and
Ladarius Henderson.
Who?
Yep.
He does exist, huh?
So that's 8. There's a North Carolina. British Brooks and they just signed a street free agent.
Oh, the safety?
The DB, yeah. So there's 9.
Yeah, so there you go. And then Miami, someone brings up Brevin Jordan and Berrios. Did Berrios go to Miami?
Yep.
I didn't remember that, yeah.
Good call.
So there you go. LSU, Stingley, and Deculus. Boom, another one.
Okay. All right. So we got hold on. This is good. Y'all don't be looking at the damn roster either. That's cheating.
So there it is. Dude, people forget Daniil Hunter went to
LSU.
Yeah, he was I don't even really remember him in college. So
is there another Mario Edwards is Florida State?
Yeah, Mario Edwards was Florida State.
Is there another Florida? Is one of those like random DBs a Florida State guy?
No.
Where'd CJ Gardner-Johnson go?
Florida.
Okay, there's another Florida guy.
Yeah, Florida.
Jimmy Ward went to like Eastern Illinois or something.
Yeah, something like that.
There's got to be like a double backup where it's. I mean, the North Carolina one's a good pull by me, but
it's like double digits, so that's where they're at. They just have a lot of mixed in guys, and I bet you
got two. You got two at linebacker. I mean, we did Alabama already, but within the linebacker room, you got Harris and To'o.
They would have had two Iowas if Des King hadn't not worked out because Lachey.
Where did Aziz go?
Where Kiffin where Herman and Kiffin coached.
FAU.
Yeah, FAU.
Yep.
So there you go. Just a little exercise. I was just thinking about it and I was like, okay, I need to go to sleep. That was like my version of counting sheep.
When we're done, I'm gonna go. I gotta go look and see exactly what the answer is.
Yeah, that was my version of counting sheep. So 2 general managers are going on McAfee tomorrow. Do you think Caserio makes the rounds, or do you think they even want to talk to him? Is the Caserio national like run over?
Yeah, he probably. I would tell you the next time Caserio is on McAfee is in I think it's June or July, because Raw will be in Houston. And I bet he goes down and hangs out with McAfee on McAfee's set, because McAfee does Monday shows from wherever Raw is.
Oh, so McAfee does Raw and SmackDown now?
No, he does just Raw.
Oh, because it's on Netflix. So
yeah. Tessitore does SmackDown with a Wade Barrett. Tessitore is actually really good at it.
All right. On that note,
it's really good. I know you're a Jim Ross loyalist.
Big Balls on my team says, I saw you, Landry, in the documentary about Johnny Manziel on Netflix. Best 4 seconds of the whole thing, baby. Best 4 seconds of the whole thing. Me in a TV studio breaking it down, defending Johnny Manziel.
What you're like? He did no wrong or something? What'd you say?
I just said he's being himself, like, because it was a big thing. It was a Fox 4 appearance in Dallas. I remember it because it was in July, because it was during fireworks season, and I was like, he's doing, like, why are we acting weird? He's being Johnny. Like, what is going? Everybody was making such a big deal about it. It was like, that's him. That's the guy.
Yeah,
there he is. Boom. All right, so that's all we got today. Tomorrow we'll try to build towards a roster. We'll actually take a closer look at the roster tomorrow. What we're gonna do? We're gonna try to focus on the offensive side of the ball and what the 2 deep looks like on the offensive side of the ball. We'll look at that. We'll also try to make some sense of the day. We haven't really zoomed in on the day 3. What were they doing on day 3? What's the best case scenario for day 3? Because these guys, they like to hang their hat. And by these guys, I mean Nick Caserio likes to hang his hat on these long shot picks. Which of these long shot picks is most likely and least likely to be a star? The day 3 guy.
A star. Ooh.
A star. Well, I mean, Nick Caserio, I think he just mentioned Julian Edelman 5 minutes ago.
I'm going to be in the lab all night thinking about this.
Yeah. Who could end up being a star?
And I'll have the total results for the double teammates for you tomorrow.
This is just what I like. I like to give Cody homework. You know what else I like to do? I like to be able to bet on an NBA game at 5:00. A nice 5:00 playoff NBA game. Never hurt
Who's
anyone.
Playing at 5.
The Bucks and the Pacers, my friend.
Oh, that's over, isn't it? Huh? Like that's.
It's pretty much over. I'm just gonna take the Bucks team over and hope they have some pride. Well, the other thing is, I think you got to go cornball point total over. So I'm going Bobby Portis over 14 points because he's really corny. He's going to try extra hard for
Damian Lillard's.
Yep.
Are the Rockets going to get Giannis?
Who knows? Stay tuned. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, Whether we're doing homework on the go or we're doing homework before the show, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
I like that. You ought to make that a slogan. Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texas again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.